You're scrolling through your phone, and suddenly you read a post claiming that the moon landing was fake, or your government is secretly controlling the weather, or your favorite celebrity is actually a clone. At first, you laugh, but then you start to wonder, why do so many people actually believe these things? Why do conspiracy theories spread so fast? And why do some minds grab onto them like they're the absolute truth? In this videocast, we're gonna break it down. The psychology behind conspiracies, why the human brain loves secret explanations, and how our emotions sometimes trick us into believing what isn't real.
I think every single one of us has probably been there.
Oh, for sure.
You hear about some huge shocking event, a big political scandal, a disaster.
Right.
And for just a second, that question pops into your head. Who is really behind this?
It's a deeply human reaction to chaos, I think. Yeah. Our minds just start racing. And sometimes the most satisfying narrative, the one that gives you closure, is that there has to be some secret group, pulling all the strings.
And that's really the core of what we're getting into today. Our source material makes this really powerful argument that the brain often lands on a conspiracy theory because it satisfies this deep, almost like involuntary craving for meaning.
Exactly.
But we're not here to judge the theories. Our mission is to look purely at the science, the psychological engines that actually drive these beliefs.
Right. We're moving beyond all the speculation and looking at the foundational research. And what it shows is that belief in conspiracies is usually driven by satisfying three very specific psychological needs. We call them the three big psychological engines.
Three big engines.
Yeah. And if you can get your head around those, you have a shortcut to understanding why people believe. So we'll break those down, and then we can look at the personality traits and the cognitive biases that kind of act like fuel for the fire.
Okay, so let's start with engine number one. This is all about just making sense of the world. Psychologists call it epistemic motives.
Epistemic, yeah.
Right.
It's just a fancy word for anything related to knowledge. The need itself is pretty fundamental. I mean, the world is messy, events feel random,
right,
and official explanations can be, confusing, or they just don't feel big enough to match the crisis. So people crave a simple, dramatic, hidden truth.
And the science has a really fascinating reason for why we crave that, especially after something huge happens. There's a specific term for that, isn't there?
There is, yeah. It's called proportionality bias.
Proportionality bias.
It's a key cognitive shortcut.
No.
Basically, if a big event happens, a plane crash, a financial crisis, some huge political shift, our minds just automatically assume the cause has to be equally big.
But, doesn't that make people sound kind of illogical? Why would the idea of a huge secret organization be more comforting than the truth, which might just be, simple incompetence or bad luck?
Because accepting random bad luck means the world is truly chaotic. It's out of your control. And the proportionality bias just rejects that. It says, the effect was massive, so the cause has to be massive and planned and organized. Even if that cause is, evil, at least the world has some kind of structure.
That need for structure, that connects perfectly to the second engine, right? The existential motives.
Exactly.
So if the first one is about knowing, this one feels closer to home. It's about feeling secure.
That's right. This engine is really fueled by a feeling of powerlessness, whether that's from a personal crisis or, political chaos, economic anxiety. That feeling of not being in control is just deeply uncomfortable for us.
So the theory gives you something to blame.
It gives you something specific to blame, a shadowy group, rather than just accepting that, bad things happen randomly.
I find that so interesting, that paradoxical comfort. Believing in some global cabal sounds terrifying on the surface.
It does.
But people find safety in it.
They do, because it makes life feel more predictable. The logic is sort of, well, if I know who the enemy is, I can at least try to anticipate what they're going to do next.
Right.
And some of the new research really points to unmet needs for control and belonging as the strongest predictors here. If you feel powerless in your job or your community, finding a secret truth gives you a kind of intellectual power. It makes you feel superior.
There's a great analogy in the material for this, the one about the child in the messy park.
Oh, that's a perfect one. So imagine a playground, and it's just total chaos. The trees are random, sidewalks are broken, there's no logic to it. A child feels, a complete lack of control.
Okay.
But if someone tells that child a secret group specifically designed this park to be a mess, well, suddenly the chaos isn't random anymore. It's intentional. It's organized.
So the comfort isn't in the theory being true. It's in the structure that the theory puts onto the chaos.
Exactly. It replaces that free-floating anxiety with the, I guess, reassurance that someone, somewhere, is driving the bus, even if that driver is a villain.
And that drive for belonging and superiority, that takes us right into the third engine. Social motives. This is all about self-esteem and group dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when people feel alienated or, left out, believing in a conspiracy creates this really immediate and powerful us versus them.
We're the enlightened ones. They're the sheep.
Right. It satisfies that deep, crucial human need to belong to a group. It reduces that feeling of isolation.
But there's also a more extreme version of this, isn't there?
Yeah.
The whole idea of collective narcissism.
Yes. So this is when a large group, say a political party or some kind of social tribe, believes that they're uniquely special, but they feel like the rest of society is constantly disrespecting them.
Okay.
So the group copes by looking for enemies who are supposedly holding them back. And the conspiracy gives them this unifying story that justifies their feeling of being both superior and at the same time victimized.
And on a personal level, it's just a huge boost to your self-esteem. You get to think, I'm one of the special few who can see what's really going on.
Absolutely. And you see this in the example of the new student. Imagine someone who's just moved to a new school. They're having a hard time making friends.
Total alienation.
Total alienation. So they join an online group that's all about this idea that, powerful organizations are tricking everyone. By sharing the real truth in that group, they instantly get an identity. They belong. They're a valued member of something. It fills that vacuum.
Now, this is really important to stress. The research doesn't say that people who believe these things have a mental illness.
Not at all.
These next traits are just parts of normal psychology that can get, turned up to 11. So what are the main personality hook-ins?
So beyond those three needs, you do see certain personality profiles pop up more often. There's natural suspicion or paranoia, just a tendency to see ambiguous situations as threatening.
Seeing intent where there's none.
Exactly. And you also see traits associated with what's called the dark triad.
Right, the dark triad.
Yeah, that's a cluster of antagonistic traits. Narcissism, Machiavellianism, which is being manipulative, and psychopathy, a lack of empathy.
And why do those matter here?
Well, the narcissism gives you that feeling of superiority. I'm special, so I know the secret. And the Machiavellianism means you're comfortable manipulating information and you resist authority, which makes you really resistant to anyone trying to debunk the theory.
So they actually enjoy the feeling of having this secret knowledge.
Totally. And on top of that, you often see people who are just overconfident in their own reasoning. They think they're smarter than they are and that they have all the facts they need.
And then, of course, our own brains contribute through all these cognitive biases. What are the big ones to watch out for?
The list is pretty telling. First, there's jumping to conclusions, making huge claims based on the tiniest shred of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Second is emotional reasoning, believing something is true just because it feels right emotionally. That feeling can just steamroll the actual facts.
And the most fascinating one, I think, the one that ties right back to our need to know, is illusory pattern perception.
Oh, yeah. That's the brain's default setting. It just loves finding patterns, even where there aren't any. I mean, we evolved to connect the dots. Back in prehistoric times, connecting two random things could save your life.
But today it can lead us astray, like the example with the random numbers.
Right. Someone sees the same sequence of numbers on license plate, then on a clock, then on a receipt.
And a brain goes,
their brain starts yelling, wait a minute, that can't be random. These numbers have to be a hidden message, a signal. It's that powerful, natural desire to turn noise into data.
And when you put all of that inside an online echo chamber, those ideas just get repeated and reinforced over and over again, making them feel way more real than they actually are.
It's an accelerator. The group reinforces the belief, which strengthens their social bonds, which then defines them against this collective other. It's a powerful cycle.
So, okay, we've established that these theories satisfy these really deep needs for clarity, for control, for belonging.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it so destructive? I mean, where's the actual harm?
Well, the costs are huge and they're well documented, and ironically, they often lead to the exact opposite of what the person was seeking. First, there's the emotional toll.
Yep.
Instead of making you feel secure, these beliefs often lead to more anxiety, more isolation, and just chronic distrust. You're replacing a general anxiety with a very specific, focused fear of an organized enemy.
Which just feeds right back into the need for control, creating a loop.
Precisely. And then you have the social consequences. These beliefs just deepen divisions in society. They create fractures between who's in the know and who isn't. And that leads to this massive distrust in essential institutions, public health, science, government.
And then finally, the behavioral risks, when the belief turns into action or inaction.
And that's often the most damaging part. You see theories that discourage vital health practices, like vaccination, or they lead to political actions that can undermine democratic processes. The consequences become very, very real.
So this brings us to the most important part, the solutions. Because if these beliefs come from such a deep emotional place, the research is super clear that just, telling people the facts is almost completely useless.
It is. The approach has to be constructive, and it has to be targeted at those underlying needs. The research basically gives us 4 pillars for how to intervene. First, improve critical thinking skills.
Before they even encounter a theory.
Exactly. Teach people how to evaluate evidence, spot bad sources, and most importantly, recognize their own biases.
Okay, second pillar.
Address the need for control and meaning. If people feel like they have real power in their own lives, in their communities, if they feel part of something positive and purposeful, they're just far less likely to turn to these theories for comfort.
And third, I'm guessing, is about community.
Build positive social connections. We have to provide healthy, vibrant alternatives, real communities that value people and bring them together so they don't have to find belonging in groups that thrive on alienation.
And the last one is about how we talk to people.
Yes. Stay gentle and curious. Instead of attacking someone or mocking their belief, the best way forward is to ask kind, open questions, like, how did you come to that idea? Or what kind of evidence might make you consider another explanation?
Keeping the door open.
It's the only way to keep the door open for an actual conversation.
So the big takeaway here really is that conspiracy belief isn't so much about a failure of intelligence or logic. It's driven by these powerful, fundamental human needs for clarity, for control, and for belonging.
We're not really fighting bad ideas so much as we're engaging with these powerful psychological systems that we all have. So the real challenge isn't debunking every single theory out there. It's about creating the conditions, critical thinking, meaning, community that reduce the need for them in the first place.
And that leaves you with something to explore on your own. Since this whole idea of illusory pattern and perception seeing patterns that aren't there is so core to all of this, maybe challenge yourself. The next time you see 2 totally random events, just watch how your brain instinctively wants to connect the dots. How will you tell the difference between that natural desire and actual genuine causality? Something to mull over until our next deep dive.
Believing in conspiracies isn't just about being naive or misinformed. It's connected to how our brain works, how we handle fear, uncertainty, and the feeling of not being in control. Some people fall into conspiracies because they want simple answers. Some because it gives them a sense of belonging, and some because our mind is always looking for patterns, even when they don't exist. So next time you hear a wild theory, pause, think, and question it before accepting it. I'm really glad you were here with me in this videocast. And hey, before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. More simple science, psychology, and real-life explanations are on the way.